You're hot. Oh, guys. Hi. Welcome back to the Combo Couch, everyone. Pasta Jardula here. Fiorella will be along shortly. Don't worry about it. She is also in the building. Oz, of course, spinning on the ones and twos. Want to thank you guys for joining in today. If you could do the normal, like, share, subscribe, all that crap. Let's get it out there. YouTube still has us in the doghouse. So we need you guys to be like Kathy Hotchell said, you need to be our little disciples and that, share for us and stuff like that. And I mean, she was telling people to, rat and do all that kind of stuff and point the finger to people who didn't want to get along with the globalist agenda of the boop boop. We all know that. But yet we're here today and we're here because of you guys. I can't thank you enough. AREM right out of the gate. Thank you so much. Left a super Ray contribution, guys. If you haven't gone over to Rockfin, please do so now. Right now, we don't have enough people following it. We only got 16, and that ain't normal for Rockfin. And the YouTube's got only 50. So we need you guys to hit that like button, hit the share button. We always assume that they've taken away our bell because so many people have emailed us before saying, I'm not getting notifications. I don't know what's going on. So please help us out if you can. Thank you very much, AREM, for the super Ray contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. And I'm going to continue to do that stuff when I want to because it's fun. And I want to have fun. Guys who are hanging out in that YouTube, thank you too as well. I don't want to just leave you guys out of this. Always talking about the Rockfin fams, but you guys are fam too as well. It's been over 16 months now that we've had demonetization from the YouTube clan. And the only reason why we're alive is because of all of you. So many of you guys, what's up, DC? So many of you guys have just been so friggin' awesome. You guys had our give, send, go up. /support the Convo Couch. I think that's something we're going to probably, do here and there when we do have elections to go to. It was amazing in Colombia inspecting those elections inside and out. And I have an announcement to make about that. You can go back and watch our video on the roundup, get it back to like what happened, kind of like an overall little video vignette, 2 hours of what we did, who we met with, who we spoke with. This was a pretty transparent election up until one particular point. And that particular point is the final tally. Remember that line I always say, we don't know who said it. A lot of people like to put it on Stalin, but I don't think it was necessarily Mr. Stalin. And that quote is, the power doesn't lie with those who cast the vote. The power lies with those who count the vote. And there is an area where it's non-transparent when it comes to the actual tallying of the votes. All the tables within Colombia, they're called the mesas. And those mesas, each table has up to about 400 ballots. And there's different, a certain amount of mesas per location, depending upon who's voting, how many people are voting, and whatnot. We were able to witness the closing process in a smaller precinct or a place to vote, they call it, in Spanish. It says like Pueblo de la Votas or something, de la Votas or something. It's really cool. I should memorize it because it's awesome. Yeah. These places where they vote, they each take a tally and there's public counting right there. So it's under 400 ballots they have to count, up to 400 ballots they have to count. And each table has 6 jurors, usually 6 jurors on average. Now, when you get outside of Bogota, which Bogota is the capital, we don't know exactly how many messes are there and how many jurors per messes. We did hear some reports that some messes had like a couple people on it, some messes, some tables only had a few jurors on it. The juror selection process, the actual Petro campaign, their lawyers have been working for more transparency in that process. They got a certain distance. They didn't get everything they wanted, but they got a good chunk of the way to where the jurors are randomly selected. Anytime that we went to a table, a mesa table, I would say, do you guys know each other? With a smile. And they're like, no, we don't know each other. We don't know each other. But it's pretty cool. But each one of those tables is publicly counted, it's looked upon, and then it's sent these forms called E14s, which are a tally form, which we took a lot of pictures of. And those tally forms are then scanned through a machine, and then that tally that comes to par, that's the official results that the then judges will scrutinize and look at and maybe open up the ballots if there's any complications or any type of issues with those E14s. So there is an area where there's not a lot of transparency. It's the one area. However, if everybody has the ability to take pictures and look at every single table that's there and it's legal, the Petro campaign should do this. Make sure they have one volunteer at every single mesa out there. Get those numbers, take those numbers, send them to somewhere, whoever from the Petro party is keeping a documentation, and then they'll have the actual numbers to make sure they can't get fucked with. The only way you get messed with in that way is if they don't let you witness the mesa and they don't let you take pictures, and then you mark down which mesa that is, and then you can kind of debate or look at those areas that you weren't able to look at. So the Colombian elections do have a fail-safe into it, where if there's enough people working together, they can actually have a weapon against any type of fraud if they try to change the numbers in the transmission. And that's something that's really, really interesting. And it's something I think that they need to do. But that's just one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is that with his vote tallies right now, if they are true and whatnot, he's millions of votes away. If you combine the second and third place candidates, the third place candidate has endorsed the second place candidate. He's known as Mr. Hernandez. They are calling him the Trump of Colombia. He's a businessman. He's going to run Colombia like a business. Where have we heard that before? So there's a lot of work to be done. They got to go out to the streets. There's a lot of people who didn't vote. They got to get them there, and they got to get some new voters. My personal opinion is that they should not spend time smearing this other candidate as a worshiper of Hitler or anything else. That Petro needs to show the Colombian people, oye, this is what I'm going to do for you.
It's not a smear. It's true.
Yeah. What's that?
It's not a smear. It's true. He's on video saying that. But I get what you're saying, not focus on just that.
Yes.
Yeah. Because, it really, some people in Colombia are just afraid, just like in Peru, of anything remotely leftist. But I do believe, based on what I've seen, that it's hard to trust in the transmission of the ballots because it's happened before. There's a precedent. And a lot of people are talking about this. Right now, it's only supposition because they are going through the process of scrutiny. So if they do find something in that process of scrutiny, then they'll be able to bring it back like they did last time, where they recuperated over 600,000 votes that way, right? But even if they recuperate that many votes, it's still unlikely to change the amount that much. I don't know. That some people are saying there's a program that you could set up to make it to not make Petro pass 40% of the vote, which is true. You can set up any software to do whatever, but they would have to prove that. So it looks like we're going to the second round. I don't know, that the process is still going on. The scrutiny process will be done before we get to the second round. It must be done before we get to the second round.
Yeah.
So there's
let me make a couple comments on that real quick, just so people understand where I'm coming from. Whether it be a smear or not, or he said it before or whatever, it didn't work before in the first time, so it might not work again. And that's something to think about. Everybody, I think, saw it out there that he had said this stuff. It was floating everywhere. And if they find out next time, who knows? But it was out there for quite some time, even him smacking another member. So I don't think just like in the United States, where we saw stadiums get filled for Donald Trump, despite all his actions, they don't care. This whole mentality that he's going to run Colombia like a business is something that a lot of people seem to be matriculating to. So that's why I said I wouldn't concentrate on using tactics to make your opponent look bad. I would rather concentrate on you making yourself look better to win this election. Number two, the precedents might be set because it might be logical and think that this is the area where it lacks transparency. But anytime that you say that there's a precedent set, it doesn't match the pattern. The patterns are that most of these establishment candidates, when they get caught cheating one way, they find another way to cheat because therefore they know they've been called out of one way of cheating. So just like, the Democrats, they have flipped votes before. They've used that mechanism. They used the mechanism of suppressing the vote via provisional ballots. Now they try something new. Now we can cluster. Now we can stuff the ballots, whatnot. So even though there's been a precedent set, and that's the area that lacks the most transparency, and it seems logical, we never know until we get that information. And the third thing is that they have the right, these campaigns, to look at the software, whatnot, and see what's what. And I will say this much. Yes, you can flip anything any way, particular way whatsoever, but it's hard to cheat in mass, almost 10 percentage points. So it would be almost like a failed tactic to try to go after and try to switch things. You got 2.5 weeks to win the election. Go win the election. Like I said, you get one person at every mesa taking pictures and you have all the numbers there. How can they then commit fraud against you? Because now you have the numbers.
Colombia has a history of fraud, though, a history of fraud since 1970s. So
absolutely, but no criminal who cheats one way or steals one way is going to continue to stay that way if they've been fingered that way and they've been pointed to that way.
But there's no
They're
proof.
going to look for another tactic to cheat.
Yeah, but there's no proof, Pasta. Like I'm not saying
exactly
I'm saying we don't know. There's no proof either way.
Exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
But I mean, from the people right now in large mass think that was the way because the observers did not observe anything. Now we don't know what happened with the ballot transports either. That could have been a potential thing, but that's a lot of votes. So it would be much easier to accomplish that via software. And we know that can happen. Although, I mean, at this point, like I said, it's all supposition because a lot of people are, speaking on Twitter, a lot of people from Petro's party, not just random people, but people within the party itself have been claiming this. So I really don't know until we get through that process of scrutiny. And of course, there's no audit. So we'll see. Yeah. We should get started on the
one thing with the issue too, as well, that we did hear is that they reported similar numbers at times that were kind of like identical matching. And that is a big red flag. It's an anomaly of sorts, and they have an area to look at. So we'll see. We'll just hold on and we'll pay attention to what happens in the second round. Let's jump right into it, fam.
Okay. Let me see. I'm not actually on there. Give me a second.
Fam, we can't just click a switch and then, start our show. We have to warm up to it. We have to, ease into it.
God.
By the way, fam, Aram left a beautiful, lovely tip.
Thank you, Aram.
Yeah, a nice tip.
So yeah, guys, we just got back and, I would love to be there again, but unfortunately fortunately, I will be in Moscow, but maybe we can get Pasta out there because where they usually rig these type of elections the most, we saw it in Ecuador, we saw it in Bolivia, is the second round. And the second round is always a bit tricky. So shifting into the U.S. politics, which, by the way, by comparison to what these people are enduring in Colombia, seems like an absolute joke right now. Every time I come back from there, I'm always like, why the hell? How do these people who have lost so much really manage to do all of this organizing, manage to get their countries out, people to be in the streets and protest? And it is because of that suffering, I think, which is why I've come to the conclusion that the only way the American people, the people of the United States, will give a damn about anything is if they actually suffer a little bit, suffer a fraction of what these people suffer. And unfortunately, I have a lot of love for the people of the United States, but then you become complacent when you don't actually care about foreign policy, when you only care about bullshit. And then you have people like Joe Biden, who a lot of these progressives literally cried to everybody and called them fascists if they didn't vote for him. A lot of people from the Bernie movement that I knew that had voted for third party in 2016 regressed and went back and said, you have to vote for Joe Biden to stop the fascist Trump. Yet under Joe Biden, we've received less money. Things have gotten worse. He has been even more of an imperialist with the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken. And it's really concerning because a lot of people who live outside the U.S. are like, these people don't care, though, that Joe Biden's doing this. When it was Trump, it was on the news 24/7. But because it's Joe Biden, as I predicted, a lot of people were going to go back to sleep. A lot of people were just going to ignore it. And you still hear people talking about Donald Trump as if Donald Trump is president. And so Biden actually has been failing. I mean, I think the hashtag Biden is like the worst or something like that was trending on Twitter. And Biden actually told people that we can't just click a switch and lower food and gas prices because food and gas prices are going up in spite of many, the possibility of controlling these prices. They're still going up, and they have been going up, of course, since the pandemic, right after the quote unquote pandemic. So he did a video, fam, where he said this really in public, right after, of course, we've been giving billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine. So let's go ahead and play what he says.
There's a lot going on right now, but the idea we're going to be able to, click a switch, bring down the cost of gasoline is not likely in the near term, nor is it with regard to food.
Bam. It's not likely we're going to flick a switch and send $40 billion to another country, okay? Not likely.
I mean, that's the thing. And I think, you know, again, if this was any other country, people will be out in the streets protesting. People would be out and saying, what the hell is going on? Why are you, you know, why is this happening to us? Why are we being ignored with what's going on? I mean, the baby formula thing is still a thing. The fact that inflation is high is still a thing. The fact that these gigantic companies like BlackRock are buying up everything, and now it's just ridiculous. But yet you don't see people out in the streets protesting. You don't see people, you know, really talking about this stuff and how this foreign policy is directly related to what we're going through. But you just see people talking about who they want to elect next for president. And it's just a complete waste of time.
You know, Fam, too, when you were talking about earlier about the way people have to suffer in America, just maybe to open their eyes, there's a lot to that because America's foreign policy is really dependent on making sure other countries stay below us and on the poverty line, right? You know what I'm saying? So a lot of Americans then were like, well, these countries can't get their shit together. I mean, what's going on? Why are they so poor? But when you get to go and see these countries, you get to actually witness the foreign policy aspect and what it does to these countries. They want to keep them destabilized, so it's easy to extract resources from them. It's easy to put in your monetary system, and it's all by design. And that is something that we really need to pay attention to as a society and start saying, hey, man, maybe we got something to do with this. Maybe our foreign policy, and our foreign policy is everywhere. It is the world. The United States the empire wants to conquer the world, or the oligarchs that are controlling it. And when it comes to the situation right now, you need to look no further when it comes to gasoline than diesel. We don't import any diesel from Russia. They're like number 4 on the list. We make more diesel in the United States than any country in the world. We produce it. So then why are we having these ridiculous diesel prices right now for truckers? Well, one reason is that we want to sweat out the small guy, the little independent guy. We want to make it so only the big trucking companies can afford stuff, and therefore it goes consolidated into the corporate state. The fascist state, which is the corporations merging with the state. So all your comments reign true. I don't wish harm on anybody, fam, but maybe we do have to see it. Maybe we do have to live a little bit like these people live over there, these other countries, and then say, it's cause and reaction. It's happening because of the foreign policy. It might straighten people up, wake them up. I don't know.
I mean, I think so. And of course, Oz has a meme, wait 6 months and we'll send you 600, wait 2 days and we'll send you 14 billion. Now it's been like over 54 billion, if I'm not mistaken, or at least.
Well, that's just in the last month.
Yeah, well, yes, this is the last month, but yes, exactly. It's hard to keep track in general because this conflict hasn't been going on that long. But yet, Ukrainians keep getting money. And I always point this out. It ends up in the hands of the Azov battalion because that's left of the military. That's what's left in that military over there. And it doesn't go to Ukrainians. And by the way, since when do we care about refugees? Why Ukrainians? And the fact is that they're destroying the country of Ukraine to get their geopolitical goals met. That's what the United States and NATO are doing. They have no problem destroying Ukraine to get what they want. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're actually the ones destroying Ukraine far more than Russia is, because economically, both Ukraine and the EU are not going to be the same, right? And so, when you go to Colombia, where people are actually fighting for their lives on this election, and then you come here and they tell you every election is the most important election of your time, and that you must, vote out red fascists. It's just hilarious, and it's really enraging to me, because I would give anything to really make everybody take these trips, go down to the global south, see how people live, see what people have endured, learn the history that they never taught you about really what happened and how Colombia is a de facto neo-colonial state of the United States, and the guerrillas and the current government was supported and implemented by the United States. And so you just get so angry because you realize like how it's just like the evil is this government. And and it's insane how it's really not about the people. I think the people in America, the people in Colombia, the people in Nicaragua, the people in Honduras, and the people all over the world, we have more in common with each other than the leaders that, impose on these countries. And that's something that I think, you could say it's more of an anarchist type of view, the fact that the people of the world have more in common with each other. You could even say it's a socialist kind of view, but at the end of the day, whatever, we're all human beings and we are exploited and used for war and for political reasons. And that has to end. So
you said, Fee, I just want to really quick, because we mentioned you this morning about how much shit you got when you did reporting and you broke the fact on their show the first time when I heard it, that you were telling the audience and myself that the weapons that we are sending for the Ukraine don't even get into the Ukrainians' hands, right? They get into the Russians' hands. There was a meme or a tweet out there that the Russians were like, look at all these weapons we just confiscated. Thank you, United States. It's like we're just burning and pissing away money, and it's a scam because guess who got paid for those weapons despite them ending up in the wrong hands? The military-industrial complex. Right. They got theirs. They don't care who wins the war, who loses the war. The fact they care is that they just have the war.
And there's a black market, too, for the javelins that's also happening.
Oh, yeah.
So that's also happening. So you have these weapons being sold everywhere. And there are weapons. So the Democrats tweeted that 27.5 million bottles of baby formula are coming from Australia to the United States. So Australia is providing baby formula because the United States can't handle it. Mm. Right. I mean, it's just fucking ridiculous.
You read the best part of the tweet, fam. Go ahead.
What?
You got to read the best part of the tweet, the last one.
If Oz wants to put it back up.
It says, thanks, President Biden.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I wasn't going to read that.
Sorry. That's the part that makes it so comical. I want to know what progressives shared this fucking tweet and just bag on them.
At least he's doing something, Pasta.
If it was Donald Trump, they would have no baby for. He'd let the babies die.
Oh, yeah. No, if it was Donald Trump, they'd be all up in arms. So instead, what the Democrats are doing and what the Biden administration is doing, instead of solving the issues we have with food shortages, baby formula shortages, gas prices, inflation, a really crumbling empire. Everybody, you have mass shootings. I mean, it's just a joke. So, and by the way, I said this to Pasta. I said, I think being in the United States is more dangerous than being in Colombia right now.
So true.
And I mean that.
So true.
I mean that.
Yep.
So First Lady Jill Biden and the U.S. Postal Service are to unveil a new stamp honoring former First Lady Nancy Reagan. On Monday, June 6, 2022 at 11 a.m. Eastern, First Lady Jill Biden will host an unveiling of a new U.S. Postal Service stamp honoring former First Lady Nancy Reagan at the White House. The First Lady will be joined by the Postmaster General and Chief Executive Officer, Louis DeJoy, Chairman to the Board of Trustees of the Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute, Fred Ryan, and Mrs. Reagan's niece, Ann Peterson. Okay, so do you want to RSVP to this event?
Yeah, I love it. Get to meet Louis DeJoy for one thing, you know what I'm saying? The ex-guy from the FedEx thing. And I mean, Nancy Reagan, holy shit, fam. I mean, she did so many great things for America and the world, like make sure Ronald Reagan went to sleep on time and woke him up, made sure he had his PJs on. And I mean, I don't want to defame anybody, but I can't think of anything that Nancy Reagan has fucking done.
Yeah, she was basically just pushing kind of like Jill Biden, actually, which is why this is perfect. Acting like she was the more cognizant one, less evil one, right? They focused on school and education and children like that. And meanwhile, her husband is I would say the pioneer of neoliberalism. I mean, he's the one that helped bring it into its worst phase.
Yeah.
Ronald
Reagan.
Reagan.
Definitely the deregulation king and started the whole process of getting NATO its wings so it could fly. And Bill Clinton sealed that puppy by adding the jet fuel. So, I mean, yes, he fucking crushed a lot of labor shit. And also one of the things he's most known for, fam, when it comes to criticizing Ronald Reagan in a negative way is that he pretty much closed down a lot of the public health institutions, and a lot of mentally unhealthy people ended up on the street. It actually just exploded during Ronald Reagan's term. So
and a lot of those people became homeless and so on and so forth. And now we're here. With a massive homelessness problem. By the way, Colombia has a significant amount of homeless people, more than I've seen in other parts of Latin America.
Absolutely.
But we have it worse.
Yeah.
We have it worse.
The fucking empire.
Absolutely insane. I mean, and when I go back to LA next week, I really just, it's just going to be so, I just don't know how much worse it's gotten. I know it's gotten worse. And it really, it just goes to show you we're back in the cycle where we have of the, 80s and late 70s, 80s, where you have massive inflation, you have depression, economic depression, you have all this, and we have an incompetent leader, a leader that's a puppet. I mean, Garland Nixon pointed it out. He's he's like Kermit the Frog because he's a puppet. Like he's not really in charge. So that's where we're at. And somebody made a sign.
The internet. Somebody won the internet that day.
Yeah. So they said, need money to travel back to 1941 to give Joe Biden's dad a condom. I thought that was funny. I had to include that in the section. Joe Biden and I, we were in Colombia and we were with a bunch of people. We're all different, but everybody was an anti-imperialist in those terms. And so I was talking about how, Joe Biden is the architect of the system, right? He created the system that really Trump exploited. And I think now that he's in power, it's like he doesn't get criticized for it because he's playing the senile old man. But really, I think he's going to be in history as one of the worst presidents we've ever had. One of the most ineffective presidents. And I didn't even put it in here, fam, but he's forgiving student loan debt for the people who attended that particular college. I forget. I think it's like Corinthians. Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't exist anymore, right?
Yeah. What about everybody else? And that's not even, that just reduces the interest rates at that point. I mean, it doesn't do that much. I mean, it's something, but it doesn't do that much. I mean, you borrow 30,000, you end up paying double or triple that. That's how bad it is, right? And we were with people from Denmark and people from Germany, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's so expensive to go to school. It's like $3,000 or something." They said that you have to pay to go to the school in Colombia because some of them are studying. That's it. I'm like, what? Oh my God. Oh, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I forgot you guys, you're screwed." And it's like, yeah, we're screwed. I mean, people forget that we are a nation in debt. It's crazy. It would be nice to not have, $30,000 of debt or $100,000 for some people or more. But that's the reality. And people, even in Europe, they don't even know just how bad it is for us here.
Anything else on the section, fam? I'm going to read two quick
Super
rates. All right. So ARAM, as you know, thank you again. We love you so much. Super 8 contribution is always appreciated on the couch. I did it really loud when you weren't here, fam, so you don't have to endure it. Trey Wright, love you, hardworking mofos. You both continue to inform and inspire me. Thank you, Trey Wright. You and the rest of our fams inspire us. The last topic was talking about Joe Biden's little, we can't just get, lowered gas prices in a snap of a finger to everything we just talked about. And now we're going to talk about fam's favorite New York politician, right, fam?
So I guess we all call her NATO Nomiki. I thought I only called her that, but I think Max Blumenthal called her that too. And I thought it was funny because NATO Nomiki. Yeah, because that's who she is, right? So NATO Nomiki announced that she's running for New York Senate. But the problem is, this is hilarious. And because I have my popcorn out, she is fighting with the DSA because they're splitting the vote because she is running after in the same district. But her excuse is it was redistricted, but it still had a lot of the same, city areas like Astoria and, other areas, New York better than I do. But So the DSA people are coming after her and they're yelling at her and they're saying she's being a grifter and that she is being selfish because she's splitting the vote. And, you know, the person would be that would win if she splits the vote would be Crowley, which is hilarious. And so the other candidate was DSA endorsed by, I think, AOC, supposedly. So Nomiki is running against this person now. It's a fucking mess. And it's kind of hilarious watching these, you know, the Brooklyn left and the TYT left fighting. And it just, I just had to point this out because, you know, we're over there covering US imperialism. We're doing these things in Colombia. And then you go back here and this is what's happening.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
Is she running as a Democrat?
Of course she's running as a
Democrat. What a surprise, man. Number two, has she been endorsed? Has she been endorsed by Lindsey Graham yet?
No, but she's been endorsed by Ro Khanna, who we'll go over.
I saw that. I saw your response too.
I mean, does anybody expect Ro Khanna to do anything worthwhile anymore? I mean, the guy's a Silicon Valley. You know, he serves Silicon Valley. He doesn't serve people.
I don't think any politician on the Democratic side has lost more stock in the last 90 days than Ro Khanna with his bullshit fucking tweets. Just awful. I mean, the guy has just missed it on every single step of the way, and also was a dickhead to like Venezuela when it came to a lot of things, and talked about, you know, kind of put a lot of negative aspects on the Maduro government. Didn't know what the fuck he was talking about, making it look like the people who opposed the government were the victims of Nicolas Maduro. By the way, just want to point that out.
No, yep, 100%. And he's terrible. I mean, what did Glory call him? A certified punk ass is what Glory Jones said.
Glory calls a lot of people a certified punk ass.
Yeah, but there's a special place in her heart for Ro. It's okay. So I know you're going to love this. So we're going to play the clip of her announcement. Okay.
Got it. I haven't seen this yet. This is going to be great.
My understanding is you have an announcement to make.
I do. I would do this no other place but with our Majority Report family, who is so dedicated to not just national issues, but issues in local communities across this country. And I want to announce here that I am running for State Senate of New York in the District 59. It's a brand new district that encompasses the community I live in. And you may have heard about the redistricting issues that happened recently. Well, we found out about this district a little over a week ago, and I was approached by many people in the community who I've organized with and gone through many challenges and fights against big interests like real estate and the MTA together and Amazon. And I am announcing today that I am running for New York State Senate in 59 so that we can keep the New York State Senate that we fought so hard to make progressive, because we are at risk of losing one of the only legislatures in this country that is Democratic led and possibly the only truly progressive legislature.
There it is. Very exciting.
I have questions, fam. And the first one, you got to help me out. And maybe if Oz wants to join in here, he's more than welcome to. I don't give a damn. You guys tell me. Why would anybody think that going on and, okay, listen, if you're going to be, those are your buddies, those are going to be your friends, you want to do it with them, I get that kind of thing. You want to keep, oh, these are the people who helped me, I'm going to help them kind of thing, whatever. But why in the world, if you are going to run, would you think that Emma and Sam are going to help you in New York? Like, I mean, maybe there's a lot of progressive shit libs and stuff like that, but from what I understand, that if you want to try to win this seat over here, and I don't know the district itself, but you might want to get some independent votes. This getting endorsement and going on the show and doing it this way, when it's the first thing that's going to be played, is going to eliminate a huge amount of people who can vote for you right away. A huge amount. So why in the world would she think, what in her mind thinks that Sam and Emma is going to help her chances? Or is it just a major fucking grift?
It doesn't matter. Yeah, she knows she's not going to win. Last time she got 2% of the vote. And so we're going to go over that because this is who Nomiki is, right? I gotta lay it out for people who don't know. The reason I'm even doing a segment is she's one of the most corrupt people. She's actually a really vile person. And I know several people who have worked with her who have told me as much, people that I trust. And here, she's been caught in a lot of lies, right? When it came to how she tricked people to give her money and how her past campaign was corrupt. But Ro Khanna wasted no time in backing Nomiki Konst, and he wrote this: I am backing Nomiki Konst in her race for New York State Senate. Nomiki is a proven fighter and a powerful voice for progressive causes. And you can see from her rhetoric, right, what kind of congressperson she would be, what kind of campaign she would lead. The same type of bullshit, the same status quo establishment, progressive light things. We need a Green New Deal, women power, all this stuff. But it's just very superficial. There's no economics plan behind it. And if Ro Khanna is endorsing her, that tells you everything you need to know. That tells you, Ro Khanna is, he brands himself as a progressive. But what does that even mean in the U.S. political framework? It just means, whatever, because Nancy Pelosi brands herself as a progressive too. And the Progressive Caucus literally all voted to fund more money for Ukraine. Money that goes to neo-Nazis. They voted to expand the police, to give money to Israel in general, and specifically ending up in the hands of intelligence. This is what they do. So really, I don't see them as any different. So she said, always grateful to you, Congressman. We fought a lot of fights over the years, as you know, looking forward to keeping the district left and supporting your work from the state level. If that's the left, I don't want to be a part of it. Like if that's your version of left, what the hell, continuing to fund the military industrial complex, wanting more surveillance. We're going to talk about what she said before and what she accused journalists of, and just being a status quo Democrat. If that's your version of left, I want none of it. And so, fam, none other than our favorite, our favorite Covidian, Walker Bragman.
My guy.
So, some personal news. I am joining Nomiki Konst's campaign for New York State Senate in the newly created District 59. You can donate to her campaign here. Of course, chip in, Act Blue. But he's working as the communications director for her campaign, right? And
it's funny because now you got Ro Khanna endorsing, you got Walker Bragman there. Ladies and gentlemen, coming next, an interview intensely done by Jordan Sheridan will be next. You know it's coming. As soon as somebody gets the tweet, in fact, go look, it's probably fucking up. I'm blocked. I can't see shit. Neither can Fee. He's probably already has an endorsement tweet out there. The players and the characters are going to get there. We got Sam, Emma, Walker. You got to count Jordan, and he'll be there and stuff as well. And probably our friends in Florida too. You know who I'm talking about. She's got friends of Josh Fox and all these people, but she is receiving a lot of criticism, fam. So Sheridan might be careful, because what happened was that this woman named Kristen Gonzalez is running in this Senate District 59, and she has been already campaigning for a long time. And it's late in the game, and of course Nomiki Konst gets in this, and people are like, "Hey, why are you running?" This she's been running, and this person says she is backed by DSA, Working Families Party, Sunrise, New York City, and many other lefty groups. She's been campaigning in the district for the past few months and has an established ground game team and organizational backing. Konst will split the vote and ensure a Crawley win. It's funny because I don't like DSA, Working Families Party, Sunrise at all. I mean, I think, they're co-opted progressive entities, but now these morons are fighting each other, and it's absolutely fucking hilarious to watch, because this is what the left is doing right now when we have a situation here where people need real solutions, and you're not going to vote your way out of this because you don't have fair elections, right? And it's hilarious to me. I wonder if Nomiki is supposed to be a Trojan horse of sorts to kind of split the vote.
Yeah, right? Because she does have those ties. So I'm wondering if, if that's the case. I don't know, but it is hilarious, and they're not going to win. It's going to be a gigantic waste of time. And if either wins, just based on what I see here, Well, obviously Nomiki would be worse because she's more closer to a freaking like centrist liberal than anything. But I mean, really,
do you know if it's a jungle primary vote, fam? Or
Yeah,
it is a jungle primary. So is there a Republican running in this district too?
No, it's Crawley. I don't know if there's a Republican, but I know Crawley is the one that they're afraid that they'll split the vote and they'll win.
And Crawley will win. So that's what they told Crawley. When we redistrict you, we'll get you back in there. And that's why he probably stood aside so easily, so he can get the real Trojan horse AOCIA in there and stuff. But this is something that they'll always do. They'll always make sure that the Democrats will never concede power to the progressives whatsoever. They'll never do it. They'll never do it.
And they keep trying and they keep failing. They keep kicking the football, trying to kick it and miss it every single time. They don't learn. And they, of course, they use the whole thing, DSA, Working Families Party. It's like, nobody gives a fuck about that anymore. Really. That was years ago, guys. Like, you want to actually win votes, you have to do as Pasta says, you have to go outside your little tiny bubble, because that it's getting tinier and tinier as we speak.
And there are so many people who are not going to vote whatsoever that you can go out there and convince them to vote. You just concentrate on that. What
is the voting rate for these races? It's like in the 20s or 30s.
Probably.
Maybe not even. I think 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most people don't vote because they're like, why?
Yeah, especially in the primaries too. They don't spend any time and stuff like that. But that's it. Just seems like that's what this is meant for, fam. For Nomiki to pull away from the DSA person that could be a challenge to Mr. Crowley, to make sure that we're sure that Mr. Crowley will win. She's doing what she normally does. She's being a good Democrat.
Yeah, and she is a Democrat. Like, she is a hardcore liberal. Like, she's not. I wouldn't even consider her a DSA, progressive or that bullshit. Like, she's like I think she's just a hardcore liberal. I think we're going to talk about why in a minute. But so they're getting called out, right? Walker got called out. She got called out. This guy said absolute wrecker behavior by Nomiki Konst, jumping into a race for DSA and Working Families Party backed, has been canvassing and fundraising for months and built a ton of grassroots support. And Walker says, new district, new lines. This is what democracy looks like. So democracy looks like coming in and shooting yourself in the foot, not speaking to each other, right? Not coalescing. Not that I care, because, we already know we don't have fair elections. These people suck. But it's just hilarious. It's just absolutely hilarious how stupid these people are. Why the hell would you do that to yourself if you want one of these candidates to win, right?
Yeah. And it's funny, too, because when Nomiki was thanking Sam and Emma, he was like, oh, they pay attention to a lot of domestic policy and local policy. She didn't mention foreign policy because that's where they're all fucking garbage, fam. And that's why I was kind of just setting up for this next fucking tweet. The fact that she says this shit. I mean, it's just, this blows my fucking mind.
Yeah, Nomiki has admitted she's a political strategist. She's not a journalist. She has a YouTube show, but she's a political strategist first and foremost. And here she says, the longer Libya had a civil war, the longer Libya was unstable. NATO needed to intervene. GOP debate. So you're taking the side of NATO. This wasn't that long ago. In December of 2015, right? When we were all like Bernie Sanders supporters. No, I didn't think NATO needed to intervene then.
Yeah.
What?
Civil war. The Civil War. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my fucking life. Civil war. Yeah, caused by fucking NATO. Caused by the deep state, caused by whoever you want. I don't give a shit. It was Western influence that caused it. It wasn't a civil war. They want to make you believe that there was a civil war conflict that broke out in Libya, and that's why it's unstable, fam. No.
NATO Nomiki.
Not at all.
I mean, and you talk about the consequences of Libya and the slave trade and of course what they did to Gaddafi and how people
loved. He wanted to start his own currency, fam, and they said no way. The elite said no way. So they fucking killed him, took him out, took his army out, and caused chaos in the country. And yes, the Civil War that's not there now, or whatever it is, it's a bunch of clans just kind of fighting over power. And with the slave trade, it's disgusting. And for Nomiki to make that comment like that, wow, immediately eliminated her. Gone. You've been disqualified.
So this is back a while ago when she hung out with Tucker Carlson, right? And she quoted Dave Weigel, Power Circle. Look, it's the Power Circle. Tucker Carlson driving Dave Weigel and Josie is writing in me at the Fox News Dems in Philly. The reason I'm pointing this out is because now her whole shtick is to criticize Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
And everybody else, right? But here she is in a car. She has a picture with Lindsey Graham too, as Pasta mentioned. Yeah. And then of course, this really takes the cake right here, right? I think. I hope all the leaders of this next generation look at VP as a role model for public service. He is one great statesman. This is who you want to be as state senator. This is the progressive. What? Really? I don't know. I mean, I guess if that's what you call progressive. And then she went on and wrote a love letter to Joe Biden in 2015.
Oh.
No, Joe Biden would be the most authentic candidate for president. Okay. Let's see what she says.
She's a Democrat.
She is a operative because she infiltrated the Bernie Sanders campaign as a burner after the fact, but she really, we know where she lies politically, right? While Bernie Sanders is getting the crowds, the real threat to Hillary Clinton is that Joe Biden's position as the best choice. And while many Americans are ready for a woman president, most Americans crave an authentic president. Yet that president still needs to be viable, as he naturally fits the mold that each candidate struggles to form. Biden is certainly viable. In the era of a perfectly constructed candidate who relies on microdata, endless focus groups, and polling to illustrate the air of authenticity, not authenticity, but the air of authenticity, there's authentically authentic, wonderful writing here. Joe Biden, undoubtedly the most experienced and qualified candidate, yet he has somehow been passed over by Democrats despite tradition. And aren't we so sad? Let's have a moment of silence.
Oh, fam. Somebody in the chat wrote, civil war in Yemen, in Syria, and Ukraine. Oh, I knew you were bad on policy, but I didn't think they were that fucking
What a
bad.
clown. What a clown, Rokana, to endorse this person. Like, what a clown, right?
Hey, one payaso endorses another payaso, fam.
And so remember the time when she accused a bunch of people, including, gray zone members, of being associated and paid by the Kremlin and, of course, Assad. It was Assadist bullshit, right? And she wrote this tweet, and she was quoting Rokana, who was also demanding some sort of repercussions for this fake news about Assad and all of that. And she said, at what point is Congress going to look into these paid propagandists here to disrupt the left and push fascist conspiracies? Some of the funding has shown up on tax returns being funneled through journalism awards by Assadists. These guys are toxic and spreading disinfo. What does that sound like, fam?
I don't know exactly. If it's, it sounds like.
Yeah,
I was going to say, it sounds like anybody from the American Center for Progress, for sure. I was going to say Matt Dust.
It sounds like Scary Poppins to me.
Oh, there you go.
Are they related? They even look alike.
Yeah. I do like Oz's answer. He said Neera Tanden. That's a good one.
I mean, if you take Neera Tanden and Scary Poppins and put them together, you might get Nomiki.
Nomiki, yeah.
Yeah. So Glenn Greenwald said, liberal YouTuber calls on Congress to investigate American journalists for suspected ties to Russia. The good thing about such an investigation is that there's already a really good, deep template for how to do it. So that will save time. So, so we really do need another Scary Poppins, in power and in government, right? Because we really, in this age where we have the Ministry of Truth, where we have disinformation, everything is disinformation that doesn't follow the State Department talking points, where we have, people whitewashing the fact that the Azov Battalion are far-right paramilitary, a fascist group. We're getting Russian state affiliated or media on people's Twitters. Where all this is happening, we're getting censored, et cetera. You really want to have somebody like that really just wants to decide what is disinformation. Yeah. It's really freaking gross. And the fact that people take her seriously just shows you how stupid a lot of the left is in the United States. And this Charlie Barker guy posted a reminder of some of the headlines the last time Nomiki ran for office. So she was accused of fraud. Her campaign paid $115,000 to a firm with ties to her boyfriend. Nomiki's bad match, the city's new campaign finance rules produce its major fraud scandal. And this has receipts. This is from the Political article. And there was this guy named Jason Coniglione, which is Italian. And he said he began to suspect that there was something off in her campaign 2 months into working in it. And on February 21st, 5 days before the election, the campaign received its tranche of public matching funds, roughly 500,000 payment that match each dollar Konst raised from small local donors at the city's 8-to-1 rate. The next day, an invoice arrived at the Konst campaign office for nearly 90,000 worth of canvassing in the field operations from a Louisiana firm called Deep South Political Consulting. By his account, the invoice shocked Dominique Shomenova, Konst's official campaign manager. The campaign was already amassing an internal canvassing team. Why hire another? Further, the decision to hire Deep South Political Consulting hadn't been run past Shomenova. And he said he'd recently gone through this city's campaign finance board training and that the invoice itself was bizarre, asking for a payment for services that hadn't been rendered and in one lump sum. So basically, she was using that money for herself. In the days that followed, Coniglione said he has increasingly begun to suspect something was amiss, eventually prompting him to file a complaint in April with the city's campaign finance authority, alleging massive fraud by the campaign and Ms. Konst. In his formal campaign, he said he suspects the campaign used public matching funds to funnel money to Konst's off-the-books de facto campaign manager, a man named Lonnie Paris. 2 days after he filed his complaint, Konst issued a public statement accusing him of being a sexual predator who used his position in the campaign to harass her. An accusation he emphatically denied. So what we see here is very familiar. Somebody like Nomiki gets found in this situation, accuses the other person of assault or something, and now you have the whole thing. All progressives, boom, that's it. Yeah. And so she has a record of lying, of funneling money, misusing money at the very least, right? And this is a person that's running for New York State Senate, that's getting the support of a congressman, one of the most progressive Congress people. And it's hilarious that she's making herself hated more, by the way.
Yeah. Hanging out with a guy by the name of Jason Coniglione. Funny. Just funny. I mean, the accusations on this guy, and I know he denies a lot of them, but, doesn't surprise me, fam. I'm not really surprised.
Oh, you know who that is?
No.
Oh.
I was just saying an Italian name out loud.
Fam.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, the reason I'm showing this is because this is what the left is doing right now. These are your leaders. This is what you're putting out there. These people are just... it's so sad. It's so sad. There's nothing happening here when it comes to movements and left, coalition building and everything. When you see the left in the global South, they're doing things. They're like, okay, we're gonna get these people water. We're gonna get them roads. We're gonna get them things. We're gonna improve women's conditions economically, right? Yeah. They're not like, oh, let's just go around marching and wearing pussy hats. They're like, no, we're gonna put women in these positions. We're gonna have equity, right, in the system. This is just total bullshit. It's just so sad. It's also enraging, and it just makes me so mad. This is why I don't even want to cover domestic policy anymore very much, really. We have to cover it because it's like, our audience lives here, and you guys have to endure the failures of these morons.
Yeah.
So we do.
Good.
What? No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say the reason why, too, as well, is because their movement is in such a small echo chamber. It's been co-opted in every single step of the way. All their movements were ever meant to be done, which is to lead people back into the Democratic Party, from Bernie Sanders to AOC to people like Nomiki. You know what I'm saying? Right now, they've become the liberals of today, the Democratic left of today. And it is a shame. It is kind of disgusting when you go across seas and you see what the left is doing over there as opposed to what the left isn't doing over here. It does become sad. The fact that she's announcing the run is a joke. One Love wrote inside the chat, let's not forget who Nomiki Konst is, despite her false claims of grandeur. Every venture she has touched either failed to exist, tanked, or turned into shit. Konst is a fraudulent loser with high ambitions. Konst is what he was trying to say. And that was from One Love in our chat. And he's absolutely right. Everything she does turns to shit. Why are we, I say we, but in the States, why are there a lot of friggin' progressives and leftists that continue to back people that always lose or anything they touch fails? It's almost like this whole idea that you're going to hear Howie Hawkins running again and there's actual people supporting him. The guy is 0-26. At what point do you go, you know what? Maybe we should go a different way. Nomiki Konst is of that nature. Everything she touches turns to shit.
Yeah, because it's not genuine. It's not authentic. It's not anything people really want to see more of. You're coming at it from a place of making a name for yourself, of narcissism. And sometimes people can see through that. They may not know what it is, but they put their finger on it. They can't quite know. But it's something that's inauthentic. And, as censored as we get and as much, crap and demonetized and no notifications and all of that woman, I don't know how that woman has, all these followers because nobody watches her shit. And it's like, and that just comes up, that's just because of, why would you want to watch a rebranded liberal, like in an age where we know that those politics are not working, right? Where we know that it's disingenuous and it's just, yeah.
Well, you know what they're going to do? They're going to press forward that one time she just talked about and mentioned how that all the money from the Hillary campaign and whatnot was kind of funneled into certain consultants, a handful of consultants. And for that moment that she kind of pointed out, or at least just said it publicly, she's been praised because of that. But once again, it's like somebody says a little truth that gets you the hook. And then all of a sudden with the curse of, or the case of sensationalism in the United States, where people have this thing where they just want to worship somebody, even when negative news comes their way or news that is the truth that might make their candidate or their person that they love look bad, they still ignore it. They have selective hearing of sorts. And it's like, no, Mickey did this. Mickey did this. She's good. No, Mickey did that. She's good. That's it. I don't want to hear about the other crap that's there. And sometimes it almost feels like it's done on purpose to get the hook in the mouth, because once they know they get the hook in the mouth, they can take you for a long ride before you say, you know what, no more Nomiki. And that's the shame about it, because that happens with a lot of politicians and a lot of people in the United States, fam.
Yeah, well, anyway, so they're stupid and nobody should vote for them. And this is, again, none of these people are addressing the fact that we don't have fair elections, the fact that Colombia has more transparent elections than the United States does. And if you're not going to address that, I don't want to hear from you. I really don't. If you're not going to tell me, look, this is how I'm going to do it. We're going to look at this. We're going to force our lawyers to provide us this transparency, blah, blah, blah. Nobody's talking about that. So you know what? Keep losing your races, or keep, putting people in there that are going to be the extension of the squad that are going to do nothing and continue giving you, very nice words of nothing. Of progressive ideals, but are really not going to do anything. Keep doing that, and then we'll see where we are.
No, fam, you got it all wrong. It's that the squad and these progressives just share more of our ideology than anybody else, and therefore we need to support them, fam. You're getting it wrong,
fam.
Yeah, I had to be a little sarcastic. Thank you so much, Arthur Carter, for the super rate contribution. It's always appreciated on the couch, fam. Anything else on this section or no?
No, thank God.
Okay, so let's get to the last two sections. This will probably be the last section, fam, if we got to get out of here in a certain amount of time. I just want to give an update what happened at the WHO, which was the WHA, the World Health Assembly from the World Health Organization, with the amendments to the IHR. We've mentioned it several times on this show. Our good friend James Roguski, Goose, we call him, has been following this story from the get-go. He's been a great source to go to. I can't be more proud of the work that James has been doing. His Substack is now getting a lot of love. After them taking down his web channels, fam, they took down both of his websites after years of having those websites in which he talked about health and how the government plays a part with insurance and kind of tracking us and making sure that they have all the control when it comes to health. Well, he wrote another article just recently. We won because he was giving great updates on the IHR. And it says right here, we won. The Biden administration suffered an absolutely stunning defeat in their attempt to amend the international health regulations against the will of we, the people, fam. And this is going to play into some election stuff here. I got some information I'm going to bounce off of you. I want to get your opinion about it, and then we can talk about it. Because as you know, what's that?
Did we show it? Slide 32.
I'm so sorry. I'm on the Oz.
There it is, just so people can see.
Okay. The next slide, 33, please. Spectacular news out of Geneva points to a complete and total victory for those who oppose the amendments to the international health regulations proposed by the Biden administration. Official delegates from wealthy developed nations like Australia, the UK, the European Union, and the USA spoke in strong support of the amendments and urged other states to join them in signing away their country's sovereignty. The first sign, however, that things might not be going the globalist way came when the Botswana delegation stated that they would collectively be withholding their support for the reforms, which many African members were very concerned about. Multiple other countries also said they had reservations over the changes and would not be supporting them either, fam. These included, and pay close attention, ladies and gentlemen, this is slide number 34. These included Brazil. Okay, just hold on. Hold that thought, everybody. Brunei, Namibia, Bangladesh, fam, Russia, India,
Nambia.
China. How do you say it? Nambia?
Nambia.
Namibia. It's not Namibia. Nambia, so that I is silent. South Africa and Iran. Brazil in particular said it would exit the WHO altogether rather than allow its population to be made subject to new amendments. In the end, the WHO and its wealthy nation supporters were forced to back down. Fam, this is the stuff I told you about that Bolsonaro is going to campaign on this year. This is why he's getting a lot of attention from a lot of patriots in America that are like, I love you, Bolsonaro, way to go.
God.
Do this stuff, not knowing his record about what he's done in the country and whatnot. But it's going to put Lula in a position in which Lula is going to have to state what he would do and his positions on the pandemic if there was another one and the last one. We know Lula, how he's great on domestic issues. We know how he's good on foreign policy. Most of the times there are some questions here and there. But this situation right here is going to come into play as Bolsonaro will be using this to campaign. Because he's going to be like, look at me. I took on the globalists. I told them to go to hell. Now, despite the fact that he's pretty much sold the Amazon, to corporations and shit, they're going to try to ignore that. And I think that's where Lula's going to try to drive it home. But this is going to be used by him to campaign because he even said, in particular, they would exit the WHO altogether. There's a breakdown. We're going to go to number 35, unless you want to say something, or should I continue, fam?
Yeah, I mean, I just think, I think it's going to require more. I mean, I think you're right. I think if that's what he campaigns on, I think Lula should be very careful about what he's going to say. There's an element of nationalism that does play into the global South right now, where they're trying to maintain their sovereignty and away from being taken over by the West. But I do know that Lula is not he's not this radical. He's not Ortega. He's not Maduro. But he will be more like an AMLO, if anything. So I think he's going to tread that fine line where it's going to be, like that rather than go full anti-everything.
Well, you remember AMLO, too, in the very beginning of the pandemic said this is full of shit and was telling people to go out and do whatever they got to do. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, yeah, because the economy wasn't ready. Kind of like Ortega, the economy wasn't ready to shut down. Right. So they didn't shut down at all. Yeah. And a lot of these progressives ignore that. They're, they love praising them, but they ignore oh, you wanted lockdowns? Well, a lot of these countries couldn't afford lockdowns, so they didn't lock down. They just said, okay, just take care of yourselves, do this, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Words by Commandant Ortega, Nicaraguans got to eat, so therefore there is no lockdown. The next slide, Oz. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. This is a little bullet points about what went on. Number one, on January 18, 2022, the Biden administration proposed amendments to the international health regulations. They did their best to keep them hidden. Everybody was quiet about this. People were eyes around the treaty. They didn't look about them slipping in. This is the exact thing that happened in New York, where what they have now is what I'm calling, what did I call it the other day? Isolation legislation, you know what I'm saying? Where they can go in there and they can form isolations and whatnot and kind of take people away from their family and whatnot. If in fact they believe there's a pandemic going on, they can do whatever they need to do. And that's what was slipped in New York pretty much into their regulations, because people started floating a bill and they were like, oh, hell no, this isn't going to work. So they just slipped them in, try to slip them in. That's what was going on over here, except, fam, their hands got caught in the cookie jar. And we talked about those countries that opposed it. Number 3, skip number 2 because it just talks about an article. Number 3, on Friday, May 20th, 2022, a document filed in the United Kingdom court case revealed that the working group of pandemic response was unable to reach consensus regarding these amendments. And number 4, this is very important. On Tuesday, May 24th, 2022, a new set of replacement amendments was submitted to the 75th World Health Assembly in complete violation of Article 55 of the IHR, which requires amendments to be submitted at least 4 months prior to the World Health Assembly. And I just got on the next slide on 36, fam, because this is hysterical. They go there, they have their amendments, they get shot down. All those other countries opposed, Brazil, Russia, a lot of African countries right there, China, they're like, screw you. So they have these new amendments up there ready to go. And if you can look at on slide 36, number 2, it says a text of any proposed amendments shall be communicated to all states parties by the Director General at least 4 months before the Health Assembly at which it is proposed for consideration. So it's saying clearly in the rules that they have these new amendments ready because they suspected a lot of things would not get passed. And inside this new amendment, it says that they have to submit things 4 months in advance before they can consider it. So here they are presenting new amendments the day of, saying, well, it's got to be presented 4 months in advance. I mean, can you just imagine that vote? People raising their hands like, I don't get it. You said you have to submit these amendments 4 months in advance. You're submitting them today, and you want us to vote on them tomorrow? That makes no sense. To your own fucking rules. To your own rules. That's the comedy that's here. Do you have anything to say about that, fam?
What was the, like, if when people said that, like, what was the response?
That's the thing. We're trying to get more information that's coming out there, because I asked James, I said, are these amendments, these new amendments that they proposed, okay? He goes, he thinks that they went through. We want to make sure that we see that these new amendments are into law. But it seems like these new amendments really were a lot different than what was actually being proposed. In a nutshell, what was actually being proposed is that the WHO would take over if in the case of a global pandemic, and what they deemed to be a global pandemic, and they would have regional control. They were called FERCs. And that meant those 8 regions, each person within those regions would be able to supersede the Constitution on how the treatments for a pandemic would go. In this particular situation, these new amendments, the reasons why they might have got passed through, fam, is pretty much they have all these one-line item vetoes in it and stuff, and it's only a recommendation. It's only a recommendation, so a nation can go and say, okay, we can choose whether or not we want to do this or not. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It wasn't like set in stone. Now, with that being said, there was a lot of the one amendment that got through, which kind of worked its way into this new amendment, is that the period in which a country can object was shortened from 18 months to 10 months, right? So we have the treaty in front of us, and we don't know what they're going to try with the treaty, but it seems like a lot of other countries have caught on and said, you know what, we're not going to play your game. So all the stuff that you're putting forth now in these new amendments are nothing more than a recommendation. And the countries can go, screw you, I don't have to follow your rules. Yeah, I followed your recommendations, and that's it, but that's all you got. And pretty much on the next page on 37, it just has the other things. Anything else on that, fam?
No, go ahead.
On Friday, May 27, 2022, the May 24th replacement amendments were revised and published by the WHO. Number 6, on Friday, May 27th, 2022, the revised replacement amendments were adopted by the World Health Organization, the Assembly. This document was also adopted. And this other document, I have it on the next page on 38. If you could just go to 38 and then we'll go back to 37. Pretty much what it says, fam, is that this new document that was there, and you can see the C, D, and E, and this is inside the document from the WHO. What it's doing is providing more clarity, more time, and more transparency rather than using the mechanisms of slipping things through unexpectedly by other countries. You know what I'm saying? You have to be able to present this stuff now in a timely manner and must be discussed and must be looked upon. And you can see right here, invite proposed amendments to be submitted by 30 September 2022, All such proposed amendments must be communicated by the Director General to all state parties without delay. So in other words, there were some issues when they were presented, these amendments, they weren't looked upon by the other nation states until it was go time to almost vote on them. They try to kind of emulate what they do with a lot of bills. Just, okay, here's the bill, let's go vote on it. What do you mean go vote on it? You want me to vote on this 700-page bill? You know what I'm saying? And D says request the the WGIHR to convene its organizational meeting no later than the 15th of November, 2022, and to coordinate with the INB process, including through regular coordination between the two bureaus and alignment of meeting schedules and work plans, as both the IHR and new instrument are expected to play central roles in pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response in the future. And the E was request that the IHR review committee submit its report to the Director General no later than the 15th of January of 2023, with the Director General communicating it without delay to the WGIHR and so forth and so forth. So what they're trying to do is in order to get their recommendations through for how to treat stuff in a global pandemic, they had to put them there as almost recommendations and suggestions, because they understood that these other global countries, these other countries that were against it, were not going to go for it. They were not just going to give over their power to the WHO. So it's been changed completely to a watered down version of now these are just recommendations. Now, fam, if there is another pandemic in the United States, they're going to say, well, look at these rules. Look, they're here in place. We need to do these things. We need to take the WHO's recommendations and suggestions, but they're not going to sell them as recommendations and suggestions. They're going to say they signed on to how a global pandemic is going to be policed or treated, you know what I'm saying, and not mention the fact that these are just simply recommendations. That's what they're going to do.
Wow. So this is good, essentially.
This is really good.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of African nations and all these other countries, Daddy Putin, India, friggin' China, going, no, we're not going to do that. Not at all. The only bad news that we got out of the whole situation, fam, I think, is the fact that, yes, they've created a mechanism in which they can try to lie to the United States people in the case of another pandemic and go, look what's here in stone. But people will point out that these are just recommendations. They're shutting down public hearings. Oz, if you can go to number 39, because they were supposed to have another public hearing in which our friend James Roguski got called in on the first one. He was able to get through and call and give his opinions on the first one, which was great, and he got a lot of buzz for that. He won't have the opportunity for the next one because, as per the World Health Organization's intergovernmental negotiating body, the INB timeline, the first draft of the proposed pandemic treaty is scheduled to be published on August 1st, 2022. A second round of public hearings was scheduled for June 16th and 17th in 2022. And you could just see right there, this is a picture taking that was taken from the WHO that was up on the board. It's a screen capture that was taken on June 1st, 2022. They've now canceled, fam, and pushed aside the second round of public hearings. So now the public is going to be left out in the cold and not be able to give their opinions.
Damn, that's not surprising.
Well, it's something that some people should be pissed off about because, I mean, more than anything, the public should be heard on this situation. And a lot of situations, remember we were talking about Finland and Sweden joining NATO? Well, that was their leaders making these decisions. It wasn't like a referendum from the people that really wanted them to join NATO. I think if they went to the people and asked them, do you want to join NATO? They'd be like, get the fuck out of here. No way. Why would we want to put ourselves in that situation? Especially in Finland, you know, not in Sweden,
Make
in
up
Finland.
A new country where all my people will go to? Sweden?
It's Finland and Sweden.
That's my empire, guys. We will rule.
Then we'll kick the other stuff till tomorrow. Sound good?
Yeah, that's fine. It's Rockfin only anyway.
Yeah, it's going to be Rockfin only tomorrow. We do have a special guest tomorrow, no?
Yes, we should have Mike. What's his name? Michael Eric.
Yeah.
Eric. Who has been doing great reporting on Russia, Ukraine, and he should be on tomorrow as well. And yeah, we're going to be going over some of that stuff again, some of the Russia, Ukraine stuff. I'm still looking into the Colombia stuff as any updates that keep happening with the authentication, the
Scrutiny
process of scrutiny. And then we'll do that. And I will be on Anarchy in the Morning at some point next week, maybe.
Sam, why are you telling people that?
Why?
Well, you wanted to be secret.
Stop.
Be a surprise.
Steve did a whole segment bashing me for calling him out on Fidel. And he's like, that's not what I said. Steve, I was responding to your many, many jabs about Fidel constantly. Okay. It wasn't just responding to that tweet, by the way. But Steve and I are going to battle it out soon. So,
well, there goes my surprise, ladies and gentlemen. Cherry Mark says Howie Hawkins is another tale of the vulture, just like Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, there's not much difference, honestly. In fact, foreign policy wise. Guys, thank you so much for being with us today in this pickup show. We normally don't go Thursdays, but thank you so much for hanging on out with us. And we'll see you on our regularly scheduled time Friday, tomorrow.
See you guys. Love you, Oz. Love you, peeps.
Bye, guys. Thank you for the super raise. Come out.